Reading faster won't help you because it's a fantasy. It's a lie that we've been told. Why do you want to read faster in the first place? If you're like me, then you thought that reading faster meant that you could read more books. Reading more books meant that you could learn more, and learning more would lead to a direct benefit to your life. But wait a second, does reading faster actually have a direct correlation to positive impact you experience in your life? As a person who's obsessed with reading, learning more, a person who's tried all these speed reading techniques, I can tell you, not necessarily. I finally figured this out, and I hope what I'm going to share will really help bring a positive impact in your life and to stop you from mindlessly speed reading. Initially, I learned and tried speed reading because I had big ambitions and I thought speed reading would be the tool that helped me get there. I came from an elitist Asian society which puts me on a safe, set path to becoming a lawyer. But since coming abroad to the UK, I realized that there's so many more possibilities to life. So I thought the only way out is for me to learn as much as possible, read as much as possible in the 3 years time in university. I started using speed reading techniques to maximize my productivity. I tried to speed read all the books I can find, all the books that I thought would actually lead to a positive impact in my life. And yes, my reading speed did increase significantly. From reading single digit amounts of books a year, I increased it up to more than 10, and now I can read more than 20 books in a year. You would thought that by doubling the amount of books you read, you would experience a double in the positive impact in your life as well. But no, not only did that not happen, a lot of old problems actually persisted. For example, I would froze up when people asked me what the book I read was about, and other times I would have read a book and then a few months later realized that I haven't actually implemented any part of it in my life. And this is when I started to discover where the problem actually lies. I thought the answers to all my problem lies in just reading one more book, just that one more book, until I realized that the problem lies in the way I read itself. So I decided to take a step back. I took a step back from all the online self-improvement advice. I decided to do a lot more introspection, a lot more journaling, and that led me to trying to change the way I read, which actually made all the difference. I realized that these are the problems of speed reading. When you're speed reading, you are prioritizing speed above anything else. You are prioritizing how many books you consume as opposed to how many books can you actually digest. I was reading too fast that my brain simply could not catch up. I'm not spending the equally important, or as I will argue later, more important time of actually consolidating, digesting, understanding and making connections of what I learned in the book to what I'm experiencing in my own life. I'll use traveling as an example. Say that you have a week to travel Europe. Speed reading is like going to Paris, Amsterdam, Venice and Berlin all within the week. Yes, you might have traveled to 4 cities and your Instagram stories will look pang. But then you'll have a much richer and deeper experience if you had just stayed in Paris for a week. Like Naval Ravikant, one of the biggest names in Silicon Valley, once said, the smarter you get, the slower you read. If you can speed read it, it isn't worth reading. As a result, I have changed course and changed the way I read books. And here are a few tips that I thought really helped me, which I think will definitely help you in your reading journey as well. So first of all is in terms of reading. So as I said, I would just speed read any book that I had. I didn't really care about like stopping and rewinding or stopping and thinking through. And an advice I would have is to read at different speed for different books. By not speed reading doesn't mean you have to read every book word by word as slow as possible. It just means that you'll vary the speed you read depending on what book you're reading. For me, for example, if I'm reading more casual self-improvement book, I can read a lot faster compared to if I was reading a more complex book about like the economics of Bitcoin or something. I would also just force myself to keep reading even though sometimes my mind was clearly not there. For example, I would be thinking about like the football match that I watched yesterday. Even though I was like reading or even though I was like listening to an audiobook. And now I realize that if your mind simply does not want to read, then don't read. Or better, if your mind was stuck in, say, other parts of the book that you've just read, that's when you actually stop and think about the book and how it connects to you. And that leads me to the second part of reading, which is note-taking. Yes, I know note-taking is boring, but then I do think it helps. When I say note-taking here, it's the action of just passively writing the key points of a book into your notes. And in the past, I tried to be very fancy and download all these like different note-taking apps and implement different system. But now I realize that it's better to just go easy. The less resistance there are, the easier it is to build a habit. That's the same for note-taking for books. Nowadays, I literally just open a new document on my iPhone Notes app, and then I just take notes of the book from there. And the third part, which is the most important bit in my opinion, is to contemplate the ideas you learn in the book and make connections of them to your own life. Whenever something super interesting pops up in a book, or some ideas you've never heard of, I'll immediately stop and I'll start writing in my notes app in italics about why that idea is intriguing to me and how that idea directly links to my life. For example, right now I'm reading a book called Hook Point, which is sort of like this marketing book teaching people how to grab attention of your audience. And sometimes I see some case study that really applies to how I present my message to you and how I market myself. And then I would literally just sit down, write in italics on what I think I could implement here, how I think certain ideas apply to my YouTube channel as well. Once the book stops being just a book in itself, but instead it has like some sort of connection to your wider experience, then it's so much easier for certain ideas to stick with you. Those are the main bits of how I read nowadays. I also like to store my notes somewhere, and I just do it on Notion. Just find one of the templates online. And yeah, that's how I read. I read a lot slower now. Being mindful about my reading made a huge positive impact in my life. So now you probably spend a lot more time reading a book, but that's okay, because what matters is not how many books you read, but instead how much impact each book can have on your life. And that's why in an upcoming video I'm going to talk about the most fundamental books I personally would read if I was starting from zero. So stay tuned for that, scroll down, subscribe, and like the video if you really enjoyed it. And I'll see you again soon. Let's learn and grow together. Bye.